Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Coy. Thanks for watching my best version of me. So today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's more personal to me. It's like the title says, it's my journey from recovery or from addiction to recovery. So basically, that's what I'm going to talk about today. So basically, it started. Let's see. I'm 47 years old. First off, I'm 47 years old. My addiction only lasted for 6 years. So a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, like that's nothing, Like I have friends that did it for 20 years or 30 years or whatever, and so do I. I have friends that did it for 40, 50 years, probably even longer than that. But none of that matters. What matters is that when I did it, when I started like I wanted to get into that life. I don't know why. I just, I don't know. That was the stupid part of me. I wanted to get into that life. I wanted to be known as a tweaker. I wanted to freaking hang out with all those people and do everything that they do and everything. I don't know why. Well, actually, I do know why. I got to backtrack. Um, when I got started, I was dating a girl that was doing it, and I knew that when I was dating her that she was doing it. She knew that I knew it, and I just told her, hey, look, as long as you don't bring it around me, I don't care. I mean, I've done lots of drugs in my life before and experimented with this and that. I was very far from Mr. Clean, but I knew that she was doing it and I didn't do it. So I didn't have a problem with it as long as she didn't bring it around me, So a lot of time went on, I mean, me and my ex, we were together for 11 years, and 6 of those 11 years were phenomenal. The best, like, 6 years of my life. Like, we never fought. We never fought. We never did any. I mean, we got along all the time. I mean, it was weird because we were so much opposites, but I guess like they say, opposites attract. I mean, we just love being around each other, love hanging out together, love just doing things together, everything, and we never fought over anything, and then little things, started happening. We started arguing over little things and this and that, and it was weird. It was weird because, hang on. My addiction started when I was with my ex girlfriend. So she was an addict, and I knew it, but I had the mentality. I was like, look, just don't bring it around me, and we won't have any problem with it, because I knew about tweakers and all that stuff, and I didn't like them, because I just thought, they're just out there causing trouble. They get high, then they go out there and rob and steal people and whatever. That's what I thought, they were. And then while her and I were together, we were living together, and I remember one night just asking her, I was like, you know what, I kind of wish you had some because I kind of want to try some. And that's all it took. The rest is history. She gave me my first line that night, and I literally went into that scene head first, hair on fire, no brakes whatsoever. I mean, I just jumped right in. I loved that drug so much. I loved the way it made me feel. I loved the way it just, like, I just felt like I could do anything. Like I was on top of the world and nothing else mattered. And over time, that feeling got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. The situation got worse and worse and worse and worse. I remember a turning point where it was only maybe a couple months that I had been doing it, and it was just like, on the weekends, when I go party with my friends, I'd ask her for some, she'd give me a little bit, she'd go run with her friends, I could run with my friends, and it was, that's how it was or whatever. And I remember the day me and her were cruising along in her car, and we're cruising along, and we're on our way to go hook up to go get some more. And the guy that we had to go hook up from was waiting for us because he had to go take a ferry to go do something else. And I don't remember, we were taking forever or something like that. We were lagging getting there, and I remember hitting him up, and I was like, "Hey, we're almost there." And he's like, "Hey, I already left. I'm gone. I had to get on this ferry. You guys are taking too long. I left, but I'll be back later tonight and I'll hook you guys up then." Anybody else would have been like, "Okay, cool." Dude, I threw a fit. Like, in the car. I hung up the phone and I remember pulling over on the side of the road and just losing it, just freaking, just cursing and punching the steering wheel and just flipping out. And I remember taking like a side glance at my girlfriend, and she was looking at me with this look of like she was horrified or something, like thinking that I was just gonna freak out and like kill her or something. I don't know. And I remember seeing that face, seeing that look she gave me, and that should have been a red flag right there. It should have been a red flag, like, okay, maybe you're getting over your head, maybe you're getting in over your head, maybe you need to take a step back and just chill, because it looks like this drug is starting to wear on you. But no, I didn't see that. I just kept going and going and going into my recovery. I mean, into my addiction, and the hole just got deeper and deeper and deeper. The last 5 years of my relationship with my ex was the worst 5 years of my life. It just, that drug, what it does to your head. I remember before I got really serious into it, and people were trying to warn me and tell me, "Hey, you don't want to get into this. Hey, you shouldn't be doing this. Hey, you should go. Don't do this." And of course I didn't listen, because I'm stupid. So I remember, like, people, "Hey, shh, no meowing while I'm making a video." So I remember, like, see, now you made me lose my train of thought. Totally lost my train of thought. Anyway, but no. So yeah, I remember, yeah, just losing it that one day, and I remember her looking at me, and I remember thinking, like, okay, this should be a red flag, and it wasn't. I completely ignored it. Whatever. Anyway, I don't know. I lost my train of thought because of the stupid cat. But anyway, so I don't remember what I was talking about. Totally lost my train of thought. Um, Basically, I think I realized I was hooked that day when I couldn't get any. When I couldn't get any that day, I realized that I had a problem. I saw it that day, but I didn't acknowledge it. But I knew it. I saw it. I mean, I'm not stupid, And I saw it, and I knew I had a problem, and I just kept going. And I mean, and I kept going and going and going and going. When other friends of yours that are getting high with you, that are other addicts, are telling you that you may have a problem, then you may have a problem. So, I mean, these are people that have been doing it way longer than me, way harder than me, way more than me, and they're coming to me being like, "Dude, like you're doing way too much. Like you're like out of control. You're all over the place." And at the time, those were all like trophies to me. Those were all awards. I was like, "Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, I'm damn right. I'm crazy. Oh yeah, or this or that." Like I said, because I wanted to be in that life. I don't know why. I don't know why. I guess it was just something different. It's something that I've never done, never experienced, and I guess I figured that would just be another notch on my belt, and I could look back and laugh at it and be like, "Oh man, I remember those days." Well, now I can look back and say I remember those days, but it didn't come easy. It didn't come easy. The relationship that I was in went from the best relationship to the worst relationship, and not because of anything that she did or anything that I did. I never cheated on her. um there was that I could say. There was no cheating, anything like that. There were other things that happened that to this day I wish I can say I wish they didn't happen. um I'm not going to get into that, but there are things that I definitely wish that I could take back from the bottom of my heart. There were things that were said, that were things that were done, that was not me. It was not Coy. It was the addict Coy, which I killed that guy like 7 months ago. So anyway, it's the relationship quickly became toxic, and it got to the point where she couldn't stand being around me. I couldn't stand being around her. Um, and it got to the point to where we literally just thought we were going to kill each other. So we thought that it would be best if we went our separate ways. But while doing that, we were both living together. We didn't have any money saved up. She didn't have any money to go anywhere. I didn't have any money to go anywhere. But we knew that we didn't want to be in a relationship together. So we did what we thought we could do. We thought we could just, hey, we'll just break up, but we'll stay roommates and, friends with benefits and go from there. That didn't work. It ended up being like an on-call relationship, basically. And I'm not gonna lie, it was a lot easier for me. I don't know if it's because I'm a guy or whatever, but it was a lot easier for me to just be like, okay, yeah, we're friends with benefits. But she even told me that, when we're together, we say, yeah, we're not together, da 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 da. But then when we go and we sleep together and we exchange words, I love you, this or that, I care about you. She says all of a sudden her head gets emotional and then she starts thinking we're in a relationship again. And it became very unhealthy for the both of us again. So we just kept on doing what we thought was right, but we just kept doing what was wrong every single time. Finally, we had a blowout. Police were involved. I almost got arrested, but I didn't because, to make a long story short, my ex was so upset at me one day that she decided that she was going to call the police and lie and tell them that me and her got into a physical altercation and that I had choked her out and that I was out in front of the trailer waving a gun around. So one day I went to go pick up my stuff from her, and I had a storage unit that was close by where she was living. So I went to the storage place and was there for about 4.5 hours cleaning out my storage unit. So after I'm done, I go back to her trailer to go pick up my dog, and she's not answering the door. And I know she's in there. At least I thought she was in there. I thought 100% she was in there, and she was just holding my dog hostage, and she wouldn't let my dog go because that's just the way you think when you're high like that. You just think of these stupid situations, these stupid things that don't make any sense, but to you at the time, it makes perfect sense. So, I remember sitting there banging on her window, banging on her door, and at this point, like I said, I'm still thinking that she's in there just ignoring me. And I'm like, you cannot keep my dog, you better give me my dog, blah, 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 blah. Well, so I decided to take a break from all that. It's getting dark. I'm like, you know what? I need to find my flashlight. So I'm like trying to find my flashlight. I'm sitting in my truck. I find my flashlight. Flashlight's dead. So I'm like, I gotta replace the batteries. So I'm replacing the batteries, and all of a sudden in the rearview mirror, I see all these police like SUVs rolling behind me, like 1, 2, and I'm like, oh man, who are they here for? They're about to roll somebody up. So I'm like, dude, I gotta watch this. So I'm sitting in the car, I'm sitting in my truck, and then all of a sudden I hear, Coy, come out with your hands up. You're under arrest. I'm like, what the? I'm like, what? So, and this is literally right after the whole, oh man, forgive me, but I can't remember the dude's name, but the dude that got killed out here, black dude, got killed by the police. It set off a whole like Black Lives Matter thing across the nation. But anyway, it was like a week after he got killed, and I'm in my car with a flashlight, and I get out of the truck. I get out of the truck with the flashlight in my hand, and I'm looking at like 4 or 5 officers all pointing handguns at me, and 2 of them on the ends have assault rifles. And I'm literally like, what the? And I get out of the car. I have this huge mag light in my hand, a flashlight that I was replacing the batteries. I have this huge light in my hand. And they're like, drop the weapon. I'm like, hands up, flashlight on the ground. I'm like, what the heck? So, to make a long story short, they basically, they take me into custody. And I've had run-ins with the law before. But luckily for me, knock on wood, I've never been arrested for anything drug related. I've never had any issues at all with the law, drug related. But I've had lots of run-ins with the law. while I was doing drugs. And that night, one of the officers was like, "Hey, Coy, look, we've heard that you've had other run-ins with our officers, and we've also heard that you've always been very courteous and you've always been very kind and cooperative. So if you could show us that same level of respect, this whole process will move on a lot quicker. And promise any questions that you have, we'll answer them at that time." So I was like, okay, cool, no problem. So I sat there, let them do their thing, and was as patient as can be. And the cops were actually really cool. Like I remember that's when I used to smoke cigarettes, and the cop asked me, "Do you smoke?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you have a cigarette?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Do you want one?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, do you got one? So the cop gave me a cigarette. I mean, I'm in handcuffs, but he put the cigarette in my mouth. He lighted it for me. I'm smoking a cigarette. I think he gave me a couple cigarettes that night. But I'm sitting on the hood, and they're asking me what's going on, and I'm trying to figure out. I'm like, "Dude, what's going on here?" Basically, she got upset that me and her were fighting, and she just wanted me out. And she and her friends thought of a plan of calling the cops and lying, saying that I beat her up and that I was waving a gun around, and they'd come and arrest me and get her out of the house, get me out of her house. So the cops come and they explain this to me, and I told them, I says, "Look," I said, "I know you guys hear this every day, but I didn't do it. I'm innocent. I swear to God. I swear on everything. I'm innocent." So I says, what exactly? So I start asking the cops different questions, trying to figure out exactly what's going on. Finally, they tell me, you're being arrested for domestic violence. I said, "Against who?" They said, "Against, Christina, about your ex." And I'm like, wait a second. I said, this is not right. I said, she would never do that. She would never call. And this is, well, we got a call from her saying that, you were waving a gun around, you choked her out, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, this is just BS. I'm like, you guys this is BS. So they sat me on the hood of the car, and they got me in handcuffs, and I'm pretty much thinking I'm going to jail. And they says, "Okay, well, we're going to get in touch with Christina, or we're going to try to get in touch with Christina. We're going to go knock on the door, see if we can get a hold of her. And we're going to go talk to some of your neighbors and see if, the neighbors can verify or not verify that they saw you guys fighting or heard you guys fighting or whatever." So I says, "Okay, cool, no problem." So they couldn't find Christina. That's how I found out that Christina was not in the trailer, because I thought she was in there just ignoring me. But after they had crawled around and looked on the windows, they even crawled on top of the thing and looked in one of the vents or whatever, and they said, "Yeah, there's nobody in there. That place is completely empty. There's no dog, there's no Christina, there's no nothing." So now I'm completely dumbfounded, just completely confused. I'm like, wait a minute, what just happened here? So I told them, I said, "Look, okay, look, this cannot be, this was not me. And I know this because when they told me the time, I said, when did this happen?" And they told, "Oh, between this time and this time." And I said, "Okay, well, that's impossible. I know for sure that wasn't me then, because between this time and this time, I was at my storage unit unpacking my storage so I can come here and pick up my dog." And they says, "Well, can anybody verify that?" And I said, "Of course people can verify that. It's a storage unit. They got cameras and they got access codes and all that." So they make some phone calls. The storage unit ends up calling me up. They tell the police that they need to talk to me. The police put me on the phone to them, and they says, "Hey, we hear this is what's going on. We need your permission to release video footage to the police that you were here." So I says, "Yeah, do that. I need you guys to do that." So they did that. The police saw the footage, and then they somehow got a hold of my ex. They somehow got her on the phone. I have no idea how. I don't remember how, but they somehow got her on the phone. And I remember sitting there, it was a good hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of sitting on the car in handcuffs while everybody in my community is driving into my community looking at me. I can imagine what they're all thinking. And I'm just like, oh boy, here we go. And I told the cop, I says, when you go talk to these people, I'm just going to save you some time and just let you know that none of these people in this trailer park like me. I mean, I'm not the only black person in this trailer park for a reason. They don't like me. They're all prejudiced. They're not going to tell you anything good about me. I'm just letting you know that ahead of time, because obviously your other officers have dealt with me and told you that I'm a polite, calm person, and I'm showing you guys that. But I'm letting you know ahead of time that none of these people are going to speak highly of me. They all love Christina, but they hate me. So when about half an hour later, five cops came, because he sent out some to go this way and some to go talk to these neighbors and some to go this, and some was talking to Christina, and all kinds of stuff was going on. Some were watching me. So he comes back and he says, "Coy," he says, "I don't know what you were talking about." He says, "We talked to all the neighbors here. We talked to just about every person in this park, And everybody had nothing but good things to say about you. They all spoke very highly of you. They said that you were a smart, young, bright individual. They said that you were very courteous, very kind, very respectful. And my mouth is on the floor at this point. And I'm like, wait a second. Are you talking about the same people like here? Did you talk to these people in this park? Like not over there, but like right here? And he says, yeah, we talked to this person, this person, this person. And he's pointing at the people that I thought for sure hated my guts. So he came back and he told, and the only thing I could think of is, when it comes to me, I am the same kind of person all the way across the board. I don't hang out with this crowd and then act different, or hang out with this crowd and then act different around these people. I'm the same way across the board, 24 hours all the time. People that know me 10 years ago will tell you I am the same as I am right now. People that know me now will talk to my friends in Georgia, tell them the same thing to tell my friends in California. I'm the same person all the way across. So that's the only thing that I could think of that those people spoke highly of me, because I never had a run-in with any of those people. I mean, we had little bickering arguments here and there over the past years, but nothing really like hardcore. But I just thought that they didn't like me, because they always wanted to kick it with her and not really like with me, which, I guess I can understand that, especially being on dope. I could totally understand that. But so the relationship quickly, that was basically the closure of the relationship. The cops got a hold of her and she confessed to them that the whole thing was a lie. And they basically ended up letting me go that night. They told me, you're the one lucky person that's not going to jail. They says 9 times out of 10, when we show up to a domestic violence call, somebody goes to jail. Somebody goes to jail. But there is that 1%. And they says, you are that 1% that you're not going to jail, because your girlfriend copped to the story, admitted to it, that she falsified the call and all that stuff. You've been very courteous and kind and respectful to us. And I treated them with respect. I didn't once get lippy with them. I didn't once get loud with them. I didn't once disrespect them. I was very calm, very courteous, just like I'm talking to you guys now. So that, I think, got me out of that situation. Plus, like, the fact that she copped to it. Thank God she did, because if she didn't, I would have went to jail. I would have caught a domestic violence case. I probably would have lost my job. And who else knows what landslide of BS would have happened from that. But luckily, she had a conscience, and she did the right thing at the right time. She ended up paying for it as well. She ended up getting in trouble with the law. I'm not going to go into that. That's a whole another thing, and that's her privacy. But I mean, to make a long story short, that was the closure, I guess, that we both needed, her and I. So fast forward now. I mean, that was years ago. Fast forward now, we're still good friends. We talk on Facebook and everything. Not so much now. And I think that's just because she knows how serious I am with my recovery, and that I cannot be around those people at all, because every time I try to go around those people, I relapse. Every time. Every single time. So that's, that's what happens basically. So, I remember before I got clean, her and I, we were at, I don't know, we talked to a bunch of people, and a bunch of people were telling us horror stories about like how long they've been up. Like, I've been up for a week, I've been up for 2 weeks, I've been up for a month. And I remember her and I were sitting there laughing at one point, because we were like, dude, there's no way that anybody can stay up 2 weeks. I don't give a crap who you are, how strong the dope is. There's no way that you're going to be up for 2 weeks straight without any sleep. So we decided to take it upon ourselves and basically myth bust this whole thing about people staying up late, staying up for a long time. So I don't know how many records I broke, but I stayed up for, her and I both, we did this together. We stayed up for 10 days straight with 4 hours of sleep in the first 2 days. Within the first 2 days, we got 4 hours of sleep, and then we stayed up for 10 days combined. On the 10th day, I was coming home from work. Yep, I had a job. I basically had a job the whole time of my addiction, except for 2 months. But yeah, so I was on my way home from work, and granted, I'd been up for 10 days straight. And I remember thinking, I got about a block away from my house, and I remember thinking, oh man, I'm only a block away. And the last memory that I have is taking my seatbelt off. telling myself, you're only a block away. You don't need your seatbelt on. You know exactly where you're going. I took my seatbelt off, and I don't even remember what happened after that. All I remember is hearing this loud crash, but it was in slow motion, so it wasn't like a bam. I mean, it was just like this. I can't even mimic the sound, but it was like it's this sound of something breaking in slow motion woke me up. That's when I realized I fell asleep behind the wheel. I fell asleep behind the wheel. My foot went all the way down to the floor, accelerated my truck up to 85 miles an hour. And from what I read in the paper, when I came around that corner, this poor lady didn't even have time to react before I hit her head on 85 miles an hour. Luckily, she was in and out of the hospital the same night. Her and her husband went to the hospital themselves and checked themselves out themselves that same night. Me, on the other hand, I almost died. I almost died. I remember when I was starting to come to because of that sound that I heard, and then all of a sudden it felt like there was hundreds of people touching me with their fingertips, just all over me with their fingertips. I didn't know what that was. That was the blood gushing out of my head, coming down all over my face and my body. That's what that was. The sound that I heard was the windshield shattering when I hit at 85 miles an hour. I started moaning and groaning, and I heard this lady on the side. She said, "Oh my God, you guys, he's still alive." And then I just remember everybody just, all of a sudden, it was just a swarm of people around me. And I remember just laying there, and it felt like an elephant sat on my chest. And I just remember screaming at the top of my lungs. And I remember yelling, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And one of the medics or firefighters said, "What are you sorry about?" And I said, "I don't know. Didn't I kill somebody?" And that's when they told me, "No, you're the one that's seriously injured. The other lady's already left. She already left on her own. Her husband came and picked her up, and they're gone. You're the one that's in serious trouble." And then I was out. I was out. And then I remember, the next thought I remember is everybody was screaming. I remember just like waking up and just hearing, just screaming. And I just started yelling, "What is everybody screaming? Stop screaming. Why is everybody screaming?" And the guy grabbed me, shook me, and he says, "There's nobody screaming." He says, "You're in a helicopter. That's the noise that you hear. We are taking you to the hospital because you are going to die." Maybe not exactly in those words, but that's how serious it was. And I remember getting to the hospital, and I remember looking at the nurses and looking at the staff as they took me out of the helicopter, and they had me on a gurney. Sorry, it's real emotional because this is where I know that I almost lost everything. And I remember them taking me in the hospital, and I just remember thinking, like, this is it. Like, I'm going to die like this. And I just remember having every thought going through my head of how stupid I've been and just everything. And, like, it just, I don't know. That part of my life was so dark, and it was so crazy. God, just thinking about that, like, breaks me out into a sweat. Sorry. But, so, I eventually got better against every doctor's, against what every doctor thought. You know, they all thought that I wasn't going to make it. And I remember at one point, you know, they told my mom that there's probably a good chance that I'm not going to make it through the first night. And I remember I did. I ended up having, I had broken all my bones, or I had broken all my ribs. I broke my chest bone. My right, or my left thigh was broken. My left knee was fractured. I had a ruptured spleen and a bruised heart. And the bruised heart was actually the one that almost killed me because it was leaking blood or something, and they couldn't get that to stop, and that's what almost killed me, is I would have bled out. But the hospital told me that it was going to be 18 months before I can work again, and roughly about a year before I can walk again. And I remember taking my first step in 53 days, and I was back working on my 90th day after that accident. 90 days, I was back working again. Of course, I went back to work, completely hurt myself again because I was not ready to go back to work and was out again. But that's a whole nother video. So that accident you would think that should have woken me up. That should have woken me up to be done. Done. And I was good for a little bit. I was clean for a little bit. And then, unfortunately for me, I was not done using. So as soon as I felt good, and as soon as I felt like I'm ready to get back in the game, I remember my mom and I were watching Super Bowl. I don't remember which year it was, but we were watching Super Bowl. And, or no, we had planned, I think, to watch Super Bowl. I was supposed to meet up with her and watch Super Bowl. And I knew that day I was going to go get high. I had been secretly planning to get high for a long time. I had been secretly planning on getting it. I had secretly gotten things and hid them places. I had secretly gotten the dope and hid that. So I knew that day I was getting high. And I went and I got high and relapsed for like 6 months. And then, which to me, I'm like, hey, I'll take it, because everybody else that I talk to, when I hear about somebody relapsing, their relapse is longer than their original start of their addiction. So I'm glad my relapse was 6 months, and then I got clean, and then I relapsed again for a month, and then I got clean, and then the final time I relapsed for 7 days, and I've been clean ever since, and that was almost 7 months ago. So that's kind of been my journey. There's a lot in there that I didn't cover just because we don't have the time. There's a lot of there that there's just a lot. That story can go on for days. I mean, that story can go for days, but I don't have that kind of time, and you guys don't have that kind of time. That was basically how my whole journey from addiction to relapse happened. I remember when I got clean, I finally went to treatment. Most people go to treatment because they're court ordered. They get in trouble with the law. The court orders them to go to court. It's called drug court. I went voluntarily. It doesn't make me any better or worse than anybody else, but I'm just clearing it up for the video. Like, I went voluntarily to treatment. I basically said, you know what, enough is enough. I don't want to do this anymore, but I don't know how to stop. And I really like to get high, but I want to stop, and I don't know how to stop. So I came to my mom. I told my mom I need help, and she didn't believe me. So I took my whole stash and I poured it right down the kitchen sink and washed it all down right in front of her, just so she knows that I was serious. And so I got into treatment, graduated from treatment 9 months later, and then a week out of treatment, I relapsed. So recovery is hard. Recovery is definitely hard. I'll tell you, if you're not working on your recovery, you're working on a relapse, because that's what it took. When I stopped going to meetings, and I wasn't real serious, like a lot of people, a lot of addicts, they have to go 90 meetings in 90 days. So you have to go to a meeting every day. I was going to about maybe 4 or 5 meetings a week, so it wasn't every day, but it was pretty often. But once I decided that I wasn't going to go to meetings at all, because I thought, you know what, I'm out of treatment. I don't need this. I was only going to meetings because treatment wanted me to go. But now that I'm out of treatment, I don't need to go to meetings. So, and I'm fine. I'm fine now. It's been 9 months since I've done anything. Like, I'm good. And it took me to miss 3 meetings before I relapsed. So, they say, meeting makers make it. If you don't make meetings, you won't make it. And I am living proof of that. But also the power of Narcotics Anonymous, the power, how strong recovery is, the power that it's so much. I only go to one. Now that I have a lot more control over my recovery, I only go to 1 meeting a week, and it's the Thursday meeting, because that's the meeting that I chair. I chair our Thursday meetings. And you know, that's 1 hour a week that I go to a meeting. 52 weeks in a year, so that's 52 hours that I attend NA meetings. How many hours are there in a year? Like 8,000 something hours? Over 8,000? So I go 1 hour a week, 52 hours. Those 52 hours keeps me clean for over 8,000 more hours. That's how strong and powerful Narcotics Anonymous is. I love it. I love being in recovery. I am so honest with my family of brothers and sisters that are in recovery. I tell them things I don't even tell my own family, because my own family, I'm afraid, will judge me for this or that. But everybody in recovery, they don't judge, because they've all been there. They know exactly what you're feeling. They know exactly where you've been. They know exactly when you're having a dark moment, and they know exactly how to pull you out of that dark moment. I love my recovery. It is literally, my life is better now in recovery than it was before I even started doing drugs. The relationship that I have with my mom is now better than it's ever been before in my life, even before I got on drugs. I mean, it's literally changed me into the person that I am today. You know, a lot of people ask me, what do I love about my recovery? Is I finally get to be the best me. Hence the name of the channel. Thanks for watching my best version of me. My name is Coy. I'll see you guys in the next video. Love you. Peace.